Hey, what's up guys, Sam here, and it's raining really heavily outside my studio right now. I'm not so sure if you can hear it, but I thought what better way to enjoy the evening by doing a rig build. I love building rigs, particularly the C70, because this camera is something where you can tear down really small and shoot just like this, or build it up as you need, as dependent on the shoot. And I still love the colors, the built-in NDs and things like that, and the fact that now you can shoot raw. So really enjoyable. I just want to say a few things that my previous build somehow got a lot of flack. People think that I use it to shoot handheld all the time. That's not the case. That's not the intention of the build. And it's the same with this. This is a production build, and so it's meant to mostly live on some sort of sticks or just slight handheld here and there. It's not something you go run around, chase girls with and shoot them. So let's not waste any more time. Let's jump into it. And so one of the things that I want to base off of is obviously something that's a lot more heavy duty, and that is a VCT plate. This is from Small Rig. All the parts are going to be linked down below. This goes straight on the tripod. It's a lot faster and it's a lot more solid, and that's why I really like this one. So let's get our handy dandy tool here first. So first things first, what we're going to do is we're going to put on our cage, and the cage I'm using is something that was sent to me. This is from Nitsy. It is a full body cage, and generally speaking, I do prefer full body cages over half cages, just because it allows you more mounting points. And to connect the camera to the VCT plate, the base plate, we actually need a VCT mount. I'm not so sure. This is also from Small Rig as well. I do like it because it has a slight shoulder pad here, although I don't use it very much because the shoulder pad is honestly quite uncomfortable. But basically it locks down over here, and basically to connect your camera to this top plate, this top VCT part, we're going to have to connect it to a plate. Okay, now that we got the plate on, basically it's really simple. You just open this up and you push it in, and it locks right into place. And so how the VCT plate works is that if you pull it up, pull this release here, you can just take the whole thing off, and if you want to put it back on, it's really simple. Just lock it in and it's not going anywhere. So this is sort of like the base of the build, and now what we're going to do is I'm going to worry about the battery first. Now in my previous build, I actually don't like to power the camera off V-mounts, and the main reason why is because I'm just kind of worried about electricity currents, because I don't use the most high-end V-mounts. I only use V-mounts to control the weight and to power a monitor, because the monitor that I use is extremely power hungry. But for the most part, I always use the batteries that come with the camera. I don't use the DC in. First things first is let's put our V-mount plate at the bottom. I just have these small rig rods, 15mm rods. They just go behind here and they lock into place. And then I just have a dummy V-mount because I don't need it to power anything else, as you'll see later in the rig. It goes right behind here. And for the V-mount, this is just some generic Chinese brand. It's called DBK, I think. It's 190 watts, so it lasts really long. It's quite heavy, so when I put it here, it sort of balances out the rig when I need to. And now you see, then that's where my V-mount goes. Now what we're going to do is we're going to focus on the top handle. I've used a bunch, but this is going to be my favorite. This is the Nitsy Stinger handle, I think, I'm not mistaken. But I love it because it's super beefy. It's nice, it sticks, so that when you're carrying a heavy piece of gear like this, it's actually quite easy to hold. It just goes in with the NATO, just like that. And so you might have noticed this small thing here on the handle, and this is actually one of my favorite bits of accessories. This is the Hawk lock, from Small Rig. This is basically a quick release system for smaller accessories that you might want to use. And basically I use this for my monitor. And basically it has these the magic arm that comes with the Hawk lock has this connector here, and you screw in a connector to wherever port that you want. You can just put it in just like that, and it's locked solid into place. And if I want to move it, I can just take it out just like that. It's really simple, and basically you can buy these small adapters, and then you can just connect them to anywhere you want. I have them here on the monitor because at the end here, it has a connection. And so basically, I can connect it to my monitor, to my magic arm, just like that. And if I wanted to take it out and move it to any part of the rig, let's say I have one of these small connectors somewhere else, I can just connect it to somewhere else anywhere on the rig. Small rig has another connector which uses the hog lock system, which is something like this, and it runs on a NATO rail, and basically if I wanted to, I can switch from, say, my monitor, let's say my monitor's up here, and I wanted to move it down because let's say the camera is going up, I can actually just connect it over here and see the monitor just like that. Obviously this is the wrong position, but this is like just an example of where you would maybe want to put it somewhere differently. So let's talk a bit about the monitor. This is the Fieldworld Ultra Bright something, wait, let me see, LUT7S Pro. It has 2 SDI outs, 2 HDMI in and out, NPF, and my favorite function I'll share with you later, but it's super bright. It's about like 2200 nits of brightness. Can you really see it? And over it, I have a cage from Nitsy as well. Let's go over something that I really love about this monitor. And as you can see behind here, next to the NPF points, there is a kind of like another NPF over here, and basically this powers anything that powers off NPF. And for me, it's going to be one of my favorite accessories to use, and that is a wireless transmitter. So my wireless transmitter of choice is obviously going to be Vexis. This is the Vexis Atom 600 just released. I'm still testing it out, so I'll do a video about that. And it just goes on the monitor just like that, and I don't have to put this transmitter anywhere else, and which is what makes this build like super clean. Like I like to minimize the amount of cables that come out from my rig itself, and this is one way. And so I have just a dummy D-tap here, and then just goes straight into my monitor. One thing great about the C70 obviously is that it uses full-size HDMI cables. I don't like the positioning of the HDMI port here, but what can we do, right? So I put one here. This goes into the monitor itself. So there is the HDMI in, and then I have one that goes HDMI out. And I just tie it. And here we go. And there we go. And so for cable management, I like these things called sprigs. They're basically, you can get a bunch of them, but generally I only need one. And they go into like any quarter inch, quarter inch, like your normal tripod sockets. And then you can just tie and force your cables in. The last thing I like to add is a side handle. And for me, a side handle is kind of essential to just be able to control the camera a little bit more. So I have this on like a Tilta rosette arm and a small rig wooden handle. This is one of my favorite things to hold. Very, very comfortable, very, very solid. And you can just tighten it over. Yeah. Just like that. If I find that for some of the shots that I might need, it's a little bit, the light flare is a little bit too much, or if I'm using some kind of diffusion filter, I don't own any, I generally rent them, I would add a matte box. So my matte box of choice is going to be this small rig modular matte box. And basically the matte box is really simple. You find whatever filter thread that it's on. You get one of these like adapter rings. You just set it on. So I don't work much with filters, especially ND filters, because I already have them built in, but I do like this matte box because it's large. And the larger the matte box for me, it's easier for me to control the light if I need to. So the matte box is pretty helpful. You might notice I don't have a follow focus or like a wireless follow focus or something, because most of the time I love to pull my own focus. It really depends on the situation, but most of the time, if like let's say I'm having an AC, they will have their own focus unit, and then they'll just like slot it in for me. So I don't have my own. If I wanted to do handheld, and this is where the kind of like the magic of the VCT plate comes into play. It's very easy to actually go handheld just like that. If I wanted to, usually my AC just helps me, and then hold it like that. And if I needed to go on a shoulder rig just to have a bit more stability, I can have it right here. And because of the cushion on the VCT, I can actually just hold it like that. And this is where this arm or handle comes into play. So I don't hold the camera like that. I can hold it like this and hold on to the mat box and just do that, right? And I rely on autofocus, and that's where I can kind of like move my monitor a little bit, and there we go. And if I have to manually focus, I can just do it right here. And then once I'm done, just like that. As soon as you hear the click, and you're good to go. And even if I'm on a tripod, I like to use the handle itself. So what I'll do is, generally speaking, let me move this here. I will tuck this arm as close as I can. That way it's a lot more stable. I'll hold my armpit and I'll press myself against the body so that if I'm doing any just slight movements, not panning, just slight movements, I'm able to control it a lot more and be more steady and careful with the way I shoot. So that's why this arm here it's a pretty solid arm, and a solid handle, and I really like that. So before we end, I do want to talk about some areas of improvement that I'm looking for, and the first of which is probably going to be switching out the mat box. I am looking for something that has variable ND inside. I know the small rig also has some mat boxes that have variable ND, but I've worked with the Tilta Mirage one, and I really like that. I think the NDs are pretty clean. So I'm planning to look for that. And the reason why is, even though the C70 has built-in NDs, I find that it's hard to fine-tune because it's a 2.468 stop. So I might want to change to the Tilta Mirage ND. The next thing and the major thing I want to change is the NITSI cage, and the main reason is because of the flex of it. I don't really like it because sometimes if you're holding handheld from the handle itself, you get that flex, and I don't like it, and it's only being like secured by 2 screws at the bottom, which I'm not very comfortable with. So that's something I might want to change to something that I can lock at the top so that it has like a second, it has a second safety measure. So that's what I would like to change. Another thing is I eventually would love to change to a small HD, mainly because the color accuracy on this monitor isn't the best. It's all right, but it's not the best, and this heats up really fast. I'm not so sure why, but it feels like it's going to melt at any moment. Another thing I would love to add is also like just different V-mounts. I would like to eventually perhaps power the C70 off V-mount one day, but I'm not too keen on that just yet. Finally, is just finding a nice EVF option if I need to, and just like being able to lock one down here. I do have an EVF from Portkeys. It's a fantastic EVF, but it's just hard to kind of like rig everything together because there's no like mounting point at the side here. I need to figure that out as well. That's about the areas of improvement that I'm kind of like looking at for this rig, and maybe that will be in the third build that I make. But other than that, I'm very happy. It's almost a minimal rig. There are not many moving parts to it, and there are not many complications to it, and that's why I can build this in like 20 minutes to an hour, and fine-tuning here and there. So yeah, that's about it. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you have any questions, feel free to ask me, or all these parts will be linked down in the description below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.